to I May Be Wrong.
I don't know what this world is coming to,
but I don't think so. We're broadcasting from the greater Nashville area, the home of country music, beyond the borders of political correctness and identity politics. Facts and faith are our demarcations. Truth lights our path.
Here's the Barry White of Podcast Radio,
the Venerable Alfonso Ashworth.
Well, welcome to another exciting episode of I May Be Wrong, but I Don't Think So. Of course, you can join us every Wednesday. You can find us here on Facebook Live. You can also join us on our website at imaybewrongbutidon'tthinkso.com. This, of course, is a very, very important time. It's going to be an important show. I see that people are already chiming in on Facebook. Please share this episode. If you want to, go ahead and do a watch party. That would be helpful. Of course, I've got a great guest lined up in the queue. I've had this brother on before. He's a staple in my show. Matter of fact, he's my go-to guy on his show. I listen to his show every Monday. He's got a great show. You need to go check out Stanley Levy with Black Man Thinking. He's going to bring on his own version of what's happening here, because Stanley stays above the curve, on the curve, in front of the curve. He's always on top of what's happening. He seems to have a sixth sense when it comes to some of these issues. Of course, I want to welcome Mr. Stanley Levy to the show. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Al. How are you doing today?
Man, you know what? It's a lot of things happening right now, and I know I want to get your thoughts on this issue concerning what's happening with what's going on in this coronavirus, this COVID-19. Something that I'm sort of thinking in terms about what's happening is more so to do with how people are panicking. Of course, the media and what the media has to say about it. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. And, of course, anything that you want to bring to the table. First of all, tell my audience, how can they find your show, Black Man Thinking?
Oh, okay. Well, see, we're on Mojo Radio, which is mojo.com. Actually, we're on 3 times a week, but I only know them one time.
Okay.
So we're on Mojo. We're also on, 3 other stations. One of them is freedominamericaradio.com.
Okay.
One is WLBB News Talk in Carrollton, Georgia. That's 1360 AM and 106.3 FM. There's also WDDQ, which is in Valdosta, Georgia, and North Florida Talk Radio, which is 107.5. So on the FM dial in North Florida. So WJ, golly, I can't remember that. I can't remember this stuff anymore.
Well, I tell you what, the easiest way to find Stanley is one way to find him is on Facebook. You put some things on Facebook that just blows my mind, and it keeps things rolling in terms of what's happening right now. And what's going on right now is people are afraid. People are afraid of what this virus may do in the coming weeks. They're saying that we have already passed China in terms of the number of deaths.
We have. Yeah, we have.
Okay.
I do have a couple things I can say about that. Matter of fact, I just put a piece out this morning on my show page, Black Man Thinking show page. And it seems that the FDA has finally approved chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine in emergency clinical trials to deal with this virus. And there's a story to chloroquine and coronaviruses. For those who don't remember, and I did, and I had to go back and research it, we had the SARS virus outbreak back in 2002, 2003. That worldwide hit about 8,100 people, killed 774, and there are like only 8 cases in the U.S. But it was a big deal because they had never seen a coronavirus before. And both of the coronaviruses that we have seen so far, both in 2002 and now in 2019 and 20, originated in China. So that's not a disparaging remark. That's just a factual remark. So when you look at that, we have a history. 2002 through 2004, we were dealing with SARS, didn't know how to deal with it. In 2005, medical research determined that chloroquine, which had been an anti-malarial drug, destroyed, and I do mean destroyed coronaviruses. Now, this was only in a test tube in a petri dish, but they've known since 2005 that if chloroquine is present, a coronavirus will not survive.
Correct.
Period. Now, in 2019, of course, we have this, and of course, this again also started in China. Here's the interesting thing about China. From January of 2019, late January of 2020, from late January, 6-week period, they went from less than 600 cases to over 80,000 in 6 weeks.
Wow.
However, it took them another 3 weeks just to get another 1,000 cases. It shut down. Now, you have two ways to go with this, and a lot of people are of the opinion that China's lying. So we already know that, it's China, they're lying, and that's okay. But the thing is, if you look, and I did, there are medical documents out there that suggest there might be another reason for the rapid decline of new cases in China. And here's one. On the 12th of March, they published an expert consensus on chloroquine phosphate to treat coronavirus, or specifically the pneumonia that it brings about. They came up with that. They actually published a treatment regimen. 500 milligrams of chloroquine phosphate twice a day for 10 days. And this was determined after they had a meeting of their experts in country and said, how are we going to use this stuff? Because the 2005 report only talked about chloroquine. It did not talk about hydroxychloroquine, which is also something that lupus patients use to manage their condition. Well, on the 18th of March, they published a second medical paper, and they indicated that back on the 23rd of February, they already had 7 different medical clinical trials going to see whether or not hydroxychloroquine was as effective against coronavirus as chloroquine. So they had a problem in January. Of course, the world ended up having a problem in January. By late February, they had already deployed chloroquine. If you read the documentation, because I asked this question: why would they publish this? One, if they didn't use the treatment, and two, if it didn't work. Why tell the world that you failed?
Right.
That's just me. So they did that. Now, a couple of days later, as far as publishing is concerned, a guy in France published his own clinical trial, and it is said to be peer-reviewed, and it's accepted in one of the, what is that journal? Yeah, the Journal of Antimicrobial Agents. They accepted it as a peer-reviewed study, and his findings were that hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, which some people I think call the Z-Pack,
yes,
was 100% effective in we're not talking about slowing it down, we're talking about the complete removal. In his study, he used the term virological cure.
Correct.
In other words, after 6 days, he put this into people. 6 days later, there was no coronavirus in them, period.
Then why?
Then
go ahead, Stanley.
Well, yeah. Now, the other thing is, on the 24th of March, so we're talking about just over a week ago, there's a guy up in New York, Vladimir Zelenko, doctor, lives in Jersey. He's running clinics in New York, and he went to YouTube out there, and he was reporting that he was having, treatment success with the same drug combination, like hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. He has treated, last time I looked, he has treated more than 669 people who were symptomatic, not asymptomatic. They had symptoms of coronavirus infection. He treated them with this. He's had a 100% success rate. No one has died. No one has even been hospitalized. Now, the governor of New York shut him down on the 23rd of March.
Yes.
Shut him down. However, the Trump administration got an approval from the FDA for what they call off-label use of hydroxychloroquine. And he was back up and running the next day. So, wow.
Well, I mean, don't let me, Stanley, what you're saying, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know, I've listened to your program, and I want my audience to really get this message that we're going to here. What is the underlying, what is going on as to why this cure or this treatment is not being used everywhere?
Well, that's a good question because, the World Health Organization has started trials that include it as well. It's already been shown to work on 3 continents. Why is it not being embraced here? Well, you need to ask Dr. Fauci about that. The little midget that shows up at Trump's press conferences, he is opposed to it. Now, it's interesting to me. The World Health Organization is funding trials for hydroxychloroquine, but Fauci, who had money to direct certain trials, specifically opted not to fund trials for hydroxychloroquine. Here is my thought, and there's a lot of malevolence to go around. One deals with this stimulus package that was passed. Do you recall how they kept telling you it was a 2 trillion or 2.2 trillion stimulus?
Correct.
It's actually 6.2 trillion.
Correct. And I knew
and
that.
And you didn't find that out. The media never reported that until after it was signed.
Yeah, because they keep saying 2.2 trillion. Even today, they're still saying 2.2 trillion.
They keep saying it. It's interesting how they're doing that because it is initially 2.2 trillion, but as Trump said, as he was signing it, that it can be 6.2 trillion.
Correct.
And the question is, we already know what the American people are getting, it is a small portion of the 2.2 trillion. What's the extra 4 trillion for?
Well, they say it's for the Federal Reserve for backstopping the loans that are going to be out there. That's what they're reporting.
That's what they're reporting. I get that. But here is the thing. The same people who are doing that out of our view, everything that I just said is known to them. There's a cure. They know there's a cure. They can stop this at any time. Why would you, knowing that there's no reason for this thing to continue, why would you go back? Why would you go up there and take $6 trillion out of the Treasury?
I mean,
why would you do that?
That's a great question. I mean, and I don't have the answer. And I know that you have your thoughts on this and what is going on. Well, this is one of my thoughts.
And that's all they are. And the thing is, the truth is that at this point, that's all they are, a thought. This is, I mean, no matter how they keep trying to talk, try to talk you into, shame you into believing otherwise, this is a hoax. We're talking about something that is less dangerous than the flu and is not spreading anywhere near as quickly as the flu. It's moved through more quickly than, say, the first SARS virus. That correct. I'll give you. But we still have 62 million cases of the flu in this country. And right now, we're looking at less than 200,000 versus 62 million. 200,000 cases of coronavirus. We got 4,000 people dead from coronavirus. We have 62,000 people dead from the flu. We didn't shut anything down because of the flu. We didn't end any sports season, cancel events, tell people to stay home, and we didn't see people lining up outside of Costco and Sam's Club buying anything that even remotely resembled toilet paper. We didn't do that. We didn't see hospitals overwhelmed. 730,000 people have been hospitalized, the CDC estimates, because of the flu. How come we didn't see or hear about people, we didn't hear about the hospitals being overwhelmed? Because this is a very bad flu season. The flu this year is a widespread epidemic in 48 states, and the vaccine this year is only 46% effective.
Correct. This has been the worst year for the flu. That ain't no doubt.
It's not the worst, but it's one of the worst. And the other thing is, this year's flu vaccine is actually more effective than last year's. It was only 29%.
That's comforting. That's comforting to hear from you, Stanley.
And so that brings me to, let me get this straight.
Okay.
You guys want me to believe you can handle coronavirus, which you've never seen before, at least not this one. You haven't seen one since 2002, and this one is not the same, it's in the same family, but it's not the same as that one. You can't handle the flu that you see every year. You can't even come up with a vaccine that protects people every year. But I'm supposed to believe you can manage a coronavirus that you've not seen.
Well, besides the fear factor, of course, someone just posted in the Facebook thread says America is like their personal ATM. Does this have more to do with the World Health Organization and globalism and one world order and one world government?
It has everything to do with globalism. You have to remember something. Leftists who are leftists in this country, progressives in this country, are very much connected to globalism.
Correct.
They just managed to take $6 trillion out of the U.S. Treasury without one citizen vote in favor of their agenda.
Come on. And they're going to take more.
Remember this. They're not done. As long as they keep you scared, they're not done. This was orchestrated. This was intentional. And the reason is and I keep telling people this, they don't want to hear me. There are only two countries in the world that matter from the standpoint of individual liberty and freedom. The United States is one, and Israel is the other.
You got it. I mean, you've nailed it. Because everybody else is wanting to run toward globalism as fast as they can.
Now, Israel, Israel is not the bigger problem unless you try to attack them, because Israel will fight. Okay,
no
so let's do that. But the other thing is, America, because of the onslaught of progressivism and globalism that has been going on since before World War II. People don't realize how long this has been going on. The American ethic is hard to find in America. The American spirit is not hard to find. But I keep asking people a simple question. What are the 5 beliefs that define Americanism? And they look at me like I'm from another country. Well, so what do you mean? And then they'll talk about the Constitution. I said, because the Constitution doesn't describe them at all. And they've been in writing since July 4th of 1776. Do you know the 5 things that define Americanism? It's in the Declaration of Independence. People do not know. The reason they do not know is because you gave your education system over to progressives, and they have systematically excluded anything that teaches you how special this country is, how good this country is. and why it is that way. And it's not tied to the Constitution of the United States. Because even Jefferson was saying, man, we need to change that thing out every so often. But nobody has even thought about looking to revise the Declaration of Independence, which is, why do we have a country?
I mean,
we don't know why we have a country.
Well, most Americans don't.
I know.
Yeah. Well, enlighten my audience, Stanley. We only have a few more minutes, brother. Tell my audience what it is that, one thing, what are we missing about the virus? And two, what is America missing about its own liberties, its own freedoms, and how that came about?
Well, the two to me are linked. You have five self-evident truths that define America.
Okay.
All men are created equal.
Yes.
They are endowed by their creator.
Yes.
Their creator is the source of their rights, unalienable rights. Among the rights are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's not an exhaustive list. That's a short list. Then the fourth and the fifth one is the one that has been excluded from American thought. To secure these rights, governments are instituted, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The only reason the government exists is to secure the rights given to you by God. That's its purpose. We have now accepted every other purpose for government, which basically means the end of your freedom.
Yes.
Including sitting at home instead of working, waiting for the government to
hand
tip
you something
from the $6 trillion that they just stole from you.
And they're going to steal more. And also close up the church door. And at the same time, convince the Christians to close up the very place that we say we defended. The right to what? Practice our religion.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, they're doing that. Now, the fifth one is what really bothers progressives. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, what ends? Securing your God-given rights. When any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, and it's not hard to make an argument that the current federal government is just that. It is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles, organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. The whole issue is this. The Constitution is not what we're supposed to be hanging our hat on. It is the Declaration. You have had suppression of teaching of the Declaration so that you would have a weak understanding and weak belief in America. So then the globalists have an avenue. If you don't know what you have, it's not that hard to take.
Well, you know, and they...
You don't know what you have.
No, and most people don't.
The people of the United States are the only sovereign that the founders recognized. They did not recognize courts as sovereign. They did not recognize the state sovereign. They definitely did not recognize the federal government as sovereign over the people. They recognized the people as sovereign over all, which meant, guys, we hold these truths
to be self-evident.
That's what you're supposed to be working with.
Yes. And, you know, Stanley, you and I understand this very well. And we preach it quite often on our own, in our own ways. And you know, as I know, we get a lot of resistance, mainly from those who call themselves Christian, and also those who are already a slave to the government. In just a couple of minutes, how are we going to get past this latest crisis, and what is America going to look like afterwards?
Well, I'm afraid as far as the immediate future, the problem is you can't get the toothpaste back in the tube. You just allowed the government to scare you into closing your eyes while they stole $6 trillion of your money to do things with it for which you would not have voted.
Yes. You
can't unring that bell. And the thing is, you have all these people out there saying, well, you know, we don't want to die. I'm like, as soon as I hear somebody talk about their being afraid to die, there's two things that I know they are not. You're not Christian.
Yes.
You're not even American.
Got you.
That's all there is to it. Because, first of all, death is not avoidable. And if you are American in spirit and in thinking, I would rather die on my feet
than to live
on my knees.
Come on. And
now what you have are people who are bound and determined, because that's the whole end of globalism and progressivism. We want the whole world on its knees before a global elite.
Yes. And it's headed in that, unfortunately, it's headed.
As long as America stands with any cognizance of what she is supposed to be, and see, I'll say this because people don't get this. The only thing that's keeping America going are naturalized citizens, because they understand better than those who were born here, for the most part, why the heck America matters.
Yes, I hear it all the time from my friends that have come here and become citizens. They seem to get it better than people who were born, lived, and raised under this Constitution. They get it a much, much clearer vision of what America's about. And that's
exactly, because the naturalization process gives them information, but their desire to escape where they were actually builds the foundation for their allegiance. They eat this stuff up once someone tells them about the history and the values of this country.
Yes.
They eat it up because they understand it. The people that were born here who treat it as a birthright, and I'm one of those who say, I don't think citizenship should be a birthright. I think your citizenship should be earned.
Yes.
Everybody should go through the naturalization process. Everybody should take that test. If you can't pass the test, which means you don't understand what America is, what it's about, please explain to me why I should have you do anything with regard to determining how this country is run, including
exactly.
vote.
And, of course, we could go on and on about what's going on with liberal progressivism, what's going on with ideology in terms of politics, the identity of sex and race and gender and all those things. This country had better wake up, and it only has a very short window, because the one person that I feel like that loves this country and has some kind of power and control to do about it, I actually see President Trump being weakened during this process of this coronavirus.
You know what? I was there too, and then when I read that effectively Dr. Anthony Fauci has been overruled.
Yes.
Because Fauci did not want these trials to occur. But Trump is still putting him forward and allowing him to speak and giving him an audience. But it was the Trump administration that changed the FDA ruling to allow Zelenko to continue treating people in New York after New York had shut it down.
That's a battle going
there's
on.
That.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's not, I want to believe, although I'm not totally certain, I want to believe that Trump has taken a longer view and says, I'm going to win, but if I try to stand up against him in public and go toe to toe with him,
you're going to lose.
Well, more to the point, the more combative Trump seems, he gives more fuel to a negative press.
Yes.
That is looking for anything to say that is against him. You may have noticed, and I'll say this one: I don't watch the daily briefings. I've never watched them, but I do understand that Trump is taking a lesser role in the daily briefings.
Yes,
and
he is.
Turning it over to these people. And guess what? What does that mean? Well, you just made yourself a smaller target because you're not the one at the mic.
Well, that makes sense.
But if you're not at the mic, but remember, Trump is the one who said that hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin would be a game changer.
Yes,
he said that. Everybody had a problem with that, and then China comes out with studies.
Wow.
France comes out with studies. Zelenko's out here doing stuff. So I have actual medical practitioners. I don't know the last time Dr. Fauci or that other woman, Dr. Berger, when's the last time they actually laid hands on a patient? Because they've been in the government bureaucracy for quite a while.
And that's no doubt about it, Stanley. I'm telling you, brother. We got a lot to chew on, and we got a lot to deal with in these coming days and weeks. The deaths are mounting up, no doubt about that. 1,000 more people died from what we don't know, because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know if everybody is dying from the coronavirus. We have no idea how many are cases that were underlying cases, that people were already sick with something else, and this is just exacerbating it. We really don't know.
Well, but here's what we do know.
Okay.
We know they're lying to us.
There's
That's
no
the
doubt
first
about
thing.
it.
And they have everybody upset over 4,102 deaths. Wait a minute, you lost 62,000 people from the flu, and you weren't upset. Now you're upset about 4,000. We still have. There's no basis for that.
I know it isn't. Matter of fact,
the whole thing.
I've been trying to do the math. I'm not a great mathematician, but I can do math. It just doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. What you have to do is go around, round up all the chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine that's anywhere in the world, and then walk around with a machine gun syringe and start shooting people with this stuff.
Yes.
That's about the only way you're going to get to 100,000. The flu is going to be done with its business in 2 months. Once you get to warm weather, what happens to the flu? What happens to any virus?
It goes
dormant.
dormant.
What happens to any virus? It goes dormant. It dies out. Now, does that mean it might come back? Yes. But guess what? H1N1, the swine flu that went through here in 2009 and 2010, is part of the flu vaccine now.
Yes.
Well, what do you think is going to happen? SARS is part of the flu vaccine now. What the heck do you think is going to happen with this?
Well, it's going to become part of our regimen. It's going to eventually, somebody's going to come up with the vaccine.
So how, and so basically, once you get immunity to this, either by being exposed to it, because the majority of people who are exposed to this have mild symptoms or no symptoms, recover and move on with life, which means now they are forever untouchable by this thing.
Right. Well, as far as we know,
if you get vaccinated, and they actually match up the strain, then at least what came around this year can't touch you.
Right.
The issue is this: America has now been exposed as a fearful country.
Yes, it has. I mean,
that is the problem.
That ain't no doubt. I mean, so much for, the only thing to fear is fear itself. I mean, so much for that.
I don't know. I don't believe that. There's nothing wrong with being afraid.
Yeah.
The question is, what is your reaction?
Well, yeah, how you respond to it. Exactly.
Pearl Harbor came around, and if you think people weren't afraid when the Japanese wore out Pearl Harbor, you're kidding yourself.
Right.
But the reaction to that fear was anger.
Yes, and we responded.
National anger.
Yes, and we showed our force.
It burned for 5 years to the point where we dropped 2 atomic bombs on the people who did that to us.
Right. And this right here is a whole other.
The reaction to the fear caused by 9/11 was not as strong, but it was anger.
Yes.
How dare you come onto our soil and attack our people?
Right.
How dare you? Now, we mishandled the actual prosecution of the wars. I'm not arguing that. But now we know we've been hoaxed. And more than that, it's not that hard to determine who the hoaxers are. Well, this is a very serious disease. Well, so is the flu.
Yes.
Yeah, but this can kill you. Well,
so can the flu. So can walking across the street.
You didn't have us doing social distancing for the flu. Well, I got 54 million cases of that out there. You didn't have me doing social distancing. Why not?
Well, It didn't. Look, they couldn't have convinced people to give them no $6 trillion. That's why not.
No, they couldn't. And now what happens, a fearful country, and remember the big thing, the thing that they're preaching now, lives are more important than jobs. In what universe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I'm not saying that everybody should be out and just doing what they want to do, but shutting down the economy and shutting down something that was going.
Here's my question when you say that. Your excuse me. Your basis for saying that is what? So we because as soon as you tell the American, it comes down to this: if you weren't going to tell the American people that they needed to stay indoors and stay 6 feet away from people, when there was a contagion running rampant through the country, infecting 1 out of every 6 Americans, putting 730,000 in the hospitals, putting 62,000 in the morgue. If you weren't telling people to stay home and be careful because this is a very deadly strain, if you weren't going to do that for the flu, for anyone to accept that I should curtail my activities because of this, you've already given in to fear.
And you know what? If they did the same with the flu or with any other disease, if they gave us a number every minute of every day for 24/7 every day, you would have the same reaction. And it's because people are glued to this as if we can't do anything about it. We got to do everything the government tells us to do. And let's shut down our businesses, let's shut ourselves in, let's don't have any interactions, and somehow this is going to magically go away. I'm going to tell you when it's going to go away, Stanley. It's going to go away before November. It's going to go away before that next election. I promise you that. I guarantee it. I'd bet on it.
Okay, but I believe that, and I'm like, I'm as much for elections as the next guy. America was not built on an election.
No, it wasn't.
And it's not being sustained by an election. America is built by a community of people who have confidence in those 5 self-evident truths.
Those truths, brother.
What you just showed me by your reaction to the hopes that somebody put on you behind a virus that's less severe than what you've seen before
tells me a lot.
You don't believe in this the way you're supposed to.
Especially the church. I'm telling you, they have convinced the church to close their doors.
Right now, the American church is 99% worthless. But no, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that every congregation everywhere in America is but you know what? People forget. Had there been no church in America, there would be no church. There would be no America.
No, it wouldn't, because it started in the church.
People left the pulpit. People left the pulpits. Preachers left the pulpits. Took off their preaching robes and put on militia uniforms.
Yes, they did.
There would not be an America without a church. There would not have been an end to slavery without a church.
Exactly.
The church became so weakened that it took more than a decade for the church to finally, for the nation to finally get enough moral backbone to get rid of Jim Crow.
Right.
Why? Because the church became weak.
And it's become
the church became weak. And now the church is on life support, and the black church is already. I'm not going to say it's dead, but there's not a lot of difference between it and dead.
They need a respirator, that's for sure, and a ventilator as well.
They actually need to believe in God more than they believe in people.
There you
That's
go.
Their problem. They believe in people.
That's right. I've said it over and over.
They believe there are more than 2 genders. They believe that homosexuality is okay. They believe that abortion is okay.
Yes.
They believe that divorce is acceptable.
Right.
All these things that they believe, God is like, I don't know where you got that information from.
And the minute you bring it up, you get attacked by every faction known to man when it comes to what's said in the Bible. And I keep telling people, don't tell me what you say is in the Bible. Tell me what God said in the Bible, because what people are saying is quite different than what God said.
You run into that all the time. You cannot have an America without I'll put it this way, I'm not going to say a belief in God. It's a respect for God.
Right, exactly.
Because this has never been, quote unquote, a Christian nation. It's been a nation that was founded on Christian principles. There is a difference. But even the founders knew you could not maintain a republic without a moral people. A moral people is not necessarily a bunch of saved people.
Okay.
But it is a group of people that respect God enough to know the difference between right and wrong and to choose the right more often.
Exactly. So what is it that has caused? Let me ask you this. What is it that has caused the church to be willing to close its doors? I'm not saying people shouldn't practice good hygiene and good, separation, all that, those sort of things while this is spreading. But they have convinced the church to literally close their doors over the fear of this disease when Jesus walked amongst the diseased. He prayed for the diseased. He laid hands on the diseased. He cast out the diseases. And what does that say?
I can answer that in two questions.
Yes,
one,
sir.
They don't want to lose their tax exemption. And the thing is, you laugh, and I'd like to laugh, but
it ain't
funny.
fun
to lose that tax exemption. The other thing is, God isn't that important to them, because what we just saw is no different than what you saw in the book of Acts chapter 5. John and Peter showed up on the street teaching in the name of Jesus and holding the government accountable, at least the Jewish government, the council and the high priest,
right,
holding them accountable for his death. And then the council and the high priest came out and told them directly, you will no longer teach anybody in this name. They said, got it. Showed up the next day. Did it again. Got thrown in jail. And then God took them out of jail, and they were out there again, doing the exact same thing.
Well,
either you trust God or you trust
don't.
The government.
Yes. And when Daniel was told to stop praying, he opened the windows and prayed. He prayed even louder.
I said, okay, you want me to pray? Gotcha. No problem. Let me go over here and open up these windows.
Yeah.
Okay. That is it. Faith is not something that is to be sidelined because those who do not have it do not want you to exercise it.
Exactly.
The church has decided that they want to be part of society instead of part of heaven.
There you go. I mean,
they want to be part of an earthly kingdom, and therefore they've sacrificed what it takes to remain an important part of the heavenly kingdom.
And that didn't start with this virus. That's been going on for several generations that we've come to this.
It has been going on since before the Civil War. And the reason I say that, and this is still part of the research I'm doing for the book that I ain't wrote yet.
You still writing,
but you have to go. I know, but you have to go back, and you will see that the idea that the government should dictate how people behave, even to the point of imposing upon them, imposing the will of progressives upon those who disagree with them, that is actually part of Reconstruction.
Okay.
Reconstruction was basically imposing the will of the radical Republicans upon white Southerners. And the problem was, and they said, well, the white Southerners were racist. And I said, you're right. You're right. Every bit of that's right. They were racist. They were former slave owners. And the only reason they were former was because they lost the war. Otherwise, they'd still have them. You're right. But there's also one other thing that they were American. And guess what? You keep pushing American to do something that he doesn't want to do, he will find a way to beat you. No, he's going to find a way to beat you.
Yeah.
Because remember this, at the beginning of Reconstruction, you had no Democrat governors in the South, in the old Confederacy. The Republicans ran everything. By the time Reconstruction ended in 1877 with that 1877 compromise, the Democrats had retaken the South politically.
Yes. And it's held on to it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And the thing, well, why they do that? Because Americans are not to be pushed. And as bad as they were in other ways, and I'm not defending them, but I understand how Americans think. You know what? I may not be able to get a gun and shoot you. Okay, I'm not going to win that way, but I'm going to find a way to win. I'm going to win. And that's what America does.
Yeah, that's what America does, and we've been doing it. And unfortunately, we're at a time to where I'm afraid that American spirit, that will to win, that will to survive, that will to fight against tyranny, we're losing that will. Every crisis that come along, somebody's standing there with their hand out.
We are. Well, the thing is, what we're losing. I believe personally, we do have a significant portion of the country. I do not know whether or not it's majority. I don't have a way to tell. We do have a significant portion of the country that is not interested in what the federal government is doing. What we do not have is a majority of the country that is ready to oppose the government openly in order to restore certain liberties, because they don't feel as though they'll be supported by their fellow Americans. Let's remember, go to Virginia. They have folks trying to just take all the gun rights. All of a sudden, all across Virginia, you saw people standing up and saying, "No, we're not doing this." You had Second Amendment safety sanctuary areas in different counties. Sheriffs saying, "We're not going to enforce certain laws, even if you pass them." The problem is this: if that's the way you were going, why did you let these clowns into office in the first place?
And you see what the governor of Virginia is doing now. You see what he's getting away with now. The governor of Virginia.
Well, yeah. What I read is he said he's going to shut down the state until June.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? And the problem is, when back in the days, it wasn't that long ago. I think I can say, back during Prohibition, I'll go there. The government wanted you to not produce liquor.
Well, people did,
but they weren't. But it's not that. But you better be careful if you're going to go up in those North Carolina mountains.
That's the
trying
truth.
to get somebody killed. because the American people at that point in time, they weren't afraid of the government.
No, they wasn't. The revenuers.
So if you decided to come up here looking for daddy still,
you're gonna get more than what you bargained for. Yeah.
We got something for you. Now, if you come looking for daddy still, the same relatives who would have shot the revenuer before he got there is now directing that same revenuer to where your still is.
Yeah, they're just going to turn you in. Of course, Stanley,
that's the difference.
We do have a different country, no doubt about it. And of course, I really appreciate you taking this time out this morning, out of your valuable time, because I know you have your own research you're doing, like writing that book you've been writing for a while. We need that book, Stanley. We got to have that book. I can't wait till you get it done. And of course, I know that you got a lot going on with your show. Tell my audience again, how can they find Stanley Levy, Black Man Thinking, and where can they hear you or see you or read you, brother?
Okay. Well, there is a website, blackmanthinkin.com. We're starting to get. We're working on getting the regular blog articles up. but that's Black Man Thinking, no G at the end, blackmanthinking.com. The radio show, which is also called Black Man Thinking, Monday nights from 7 to 9 Pacific, which would be 10 to midnight Eastern.
Yep.
On mojo.com, on WDDQ, Talk 92.1 in Valdosta, on WJHC, Talk 107.5 North Florida Talk Radio, freedominamericaradio.com, and WLBB News Talk, 1330 and 106 and AM FM 106.3. That's out of Carrollton. You can find me there. I do have my own personal page, which is Stanley Levy on Facebook, and I have my show page, Black Man Thinking, on Facebook as well. I've kind of walked away from Twitter for the time being because it's crazy, and I'm getting censored. I mean, and when I say censored, I'm like, Facebook makes it very clear that there's only so far they're going to let me, go to communicate any. I mean, for example, if I do a post, I can't tag more than 50 people.
That's
if I do a show. Yeah, if I do a show, I'm limited to 500 at most invitations for people, and also I can only and there are times where I can only invite 50. If I'm going to share a post, I'm limited to 10 pages or 10 groups that I can share the post to. So I get that. I understand that. And I got to talk to Lonnie about how to get past that, because Lonnie's my media mentor. So
well, Lonnie knows. Lonnie's been learning. He's taught me a thing or two, and another guy that I would recommend is Pastor Donovan Larkins. I just had him on last week,
I got that.
And he gave me some pointers, and they are blocking a lot of my events if I try to buy ads. It's real. I know people don't think it's real, but it is real that they're trying to stop black conservatives, especially black conservative Christians who are trying to get this message out that you're bringing. But we're going to continue to do that, of course. And I spread your gospel. I spread your message. I spread your show every week. I share it on my pages. And I do share all the things that you send me on the timeline. And people do respond to those things, Stanley. And there's a lot of information out there, underlying information that needs to go out that the mainstream media is not sharing with the American people. So, of course, I want you to wrap things up. Give us your final thoughts on this thing with the coronavirus. What's going to, like we've already said, we know what's coming. We know we've been lied to. Now, what are we going to do about it in the next few weeks to take this country back?
The only thing you can do at this point is hope that the president is a man of his word.
Yes.
And that he has actually stopped being overly influenced by the deep state that actually is part of the American medical government community. People think the deep state stopped with the CIA and maybe with, I said, no. I call it the permagov, but the deep state is pervasive throughout the part of the federal government that is unelected.
Yes, it is. And the bureaucracy.
So the idea, the bureaucracy is the American bureaucracy is not a fan of the rights of the American people.
No, it's not.
The only thing you can do at this point, unless you want to have a rebellion, and to be honest with you, I'm not so sure that's a bad idea.
I'm not either.
But the only thing you can do at this point, for those of you who aren't scared, because a lot of scared people out there.
Yes, it is.
But the only thing you can do is hope that the president holds to his word of April 30th. And what you can hope is that since you finally have trials for a drug that is known to destroy this virus, that they actually use it.
Use it, yeah. We should be demanding they use it.
If they put this out there, we're no longer talking about flattening the curve, that nonsense, which basically, the whole thing about flattening the curve is not about ending the disease. It's about managing it. Well, we got to flatten the curve because we don't have enough hospital beds. Yeah, but you're making it last longer. How does that help anybody?
And that's where I'm concerned about.
But now that you have a drug that actually eradicates the virus in human beings, you don't have to flatten the curve. You have the opportunity to end it.
And I think that's where the medical community is not syncing with the American people, because in some regards, they don't want it to be that easy. They don't want it to end that simple.
Let's be clear about this. It is not the American medical community. It is a segment of the American medical community.
The bureaucracy.
It is those who are associated. Yeah, it is those who are associated with the federal government. They're not interested in seeing this go away. Those who are on the college campuses, particularly, obviously, the liberal college campuses,
they don't want to see.
They're not interested in this. They don't want this. They don't want this to go away. They would rather go do research on new drugs that have never shown any effectiveness against the coronavirus. They would rather do that than actually go out and put money into what has been known since 2005
to work
to do damage to coronavirus. Once you understand that, you need to start supporting people, for example, like Dr. Zelenko, who's treated more than 600 or 700 people with the same drug combination that's been spoken of by the president and has been studied on 2 other continents.
Yes, it's already working. I mean, it's working.
Exactly.
And we could do another show about that, but we're getting ready to wrap things up, Stanley. I tell you what, brother, we're going to continue to pray and continue to go forth. I'm like you, man. I know this may sound strange to some Americans, but every now and then the people need to revolt just to remind the government to who is in charge. And I think we're getting closer to something like that. But go ahead and tell, of course, you tell my audience how you can get in touch with you. I'm going to do that. I'm going to post it on my pages. But Stanley, I really appreciate you coming on, big guy.
Not a problem. Anytime, sir. Anytime you want. Anytime I can oblige you. I don't have a problem.
God bless you.
And like I said, I did put a piece out there this morning, just dealing with the decision that the FDA seems to have made, which I believe is Trump's hand is in.
Yeah.
To do trials on hydroxychloroquine. The more people start finding out about this on their own, it's simply going to become more clear that the people who are saying they want to protect you
is not
the
really.
The question is, what are they protecting you from?
Exactly. Well, man, we're going to continue to endeavor to persevere, and God bless you, and thank you again.
No problem, man. You take care. Love you.
Love you too, bro. Of course, that was Stanley Levy with Black Man Thinking. He's been on the show before. I really appreciate it. We did go an hour. We have been almost an hour here. And, of course, you can find this show in its full entirety back on Facebook Live. You can also find it. You will be able to find this on YouTube. If you missed it, I will post it. I will be posting information from Stanley on my Facebook page. You can find me there at Alfonso or Al Ashworth. You can also find me at I May Be Wrong, but I Don't Think So. I want to thank everyone for chiming in. Paula says a healthy economy. That's a great question. Ken Burnett says, just like the president told us before, what do we have to lose? We have to lose everything. We're going to lose it all, folks, if we don't wake up and smell what's going on out of Washington, D.C. They could not take this president down with those impeachments. They couldn't take him down with the Russian hoax. They couldn't take him down with saying that he was stealing money. They couldn't take him down with what he says on his Twitter page. They couldn't take him down any other way. And if anything else, the progressives, the liberal progressives for sure, they firmly believe that you never let a crisis go to waste. And folks, we are in a crisis, and they are taking full advantage of it to not only weaken Trump. I'm getting you, y'all listen to me. It's not just to weaken Trump. It's to weaken this economy and to weaken this nation and make us more like what the globalists want us to be like. One world order, one world government. Of course, I want to thank all of you for chiming in. We really appreciate it. If you want to help us out, join us on my webpage at I May Be Wrong, but I Don't Think So. Become a contributor, or you can also subscribe to the page. I want to say God bless you, God bless America, and peace.
You've been listening to Alfonso Ashworth, the Barry White of Podcast Radio. Go and share his message. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Remember, no two people can ever occupy the same place at the same time. You were uniquely and wonderfully made. Born an original. Don't die a copy. God bless. Peace.